Welcome. I'm Kyle Steele, Executive Director and CEO of Rally, Central Florida Civic Innovation Infrastructure, wholly and proudly owned by the Central Florida Foundation. We're so happy that you're here. See, today, you're going to meet 10 social entrepreneurs who have spent the last 16 weeks inside our accelerator being coached, challenged, and tested. They have refined their models, validated their assumptions, and developed real world pilot opportunities that are ready for the right institutional partner. What you're about to see is not a pitch competition, it is an invitation. But before we get there, I want to say a few things about why this work matters. See, caring about a problem is not the same as solving it. Talking about a problem is not the same as solving it. What it actually takes is infrastructure, the kind that finds the best ideas, tests them in the real world, and moves the ones that work into permanent adoption. That is what Rally is. We're not a grant program. We're not a traditional accelerator. We are a permanent regional utility, a living lab built to help Central Florida source, build, test, and scale frontier solutions across 9 pillars of regional life: energy and water, land and sustainable materials, mobility and connectivity, housing and attainment, health and wellness, education and talent, civic engagement, placemaking and safety, and last but not least, economic development. Each of these ventures is ready to partner with an organization like yours, a corporation, a municipality, a nonprofit, a healthcare system, to run a real pilot inside a real operating environment. Your role is simple: watch, listen, and ask yourself, in your network, who needs to be a part of this conversation? We call this showcase Strengthening the Grid, because that is exactly what happens when entrepreneurs, institutions, and civic leaders commit to testing together. The grid actually gets stronger. Now, before we send you over to the showcase, we want you to hear from a leader who understands what is at stake for this region and who has been a genuine partner in this work. It is my honor to introduce Orange County Mayor Jerry Demings. Thanks for stopping by.
Hello, I'm Orange County Mayor Jerry Demings. I want to take this opportunity to recognize this cohort of Rally Fellows. These entrepreneurs are building ventures that not only address pressing social challenges, but also contribute to the growth, innovation, and long-term strength of Orange County's economy. Orange County remains focused on driving economic development, and that means investing in people, ideas, and ventures that create opportunity. Programs like Rally are important to this mission, helping early stage entrepreneurs build businesses, create jobs, and gain access to tools and networks they need to grow. The ventures you see today represent the next generation of business leaders who are building solutions that serve both our economy and community. Congratulations to the fellows, and thank you to Rally for your continued leadership in advancing entrepreneurship, innovation, and job creation across Orange County.
Awesome. So joining me now is someone who has spent more than 2 decades building philanthropic infrastructure that makes civic innovation possible in this region. Mark Brewer is the president and CEO of the Central Florida Foundation, which is actually Rally's parent organization. I've said that before, and one of the most trusted civic institutions in Central Florida. Mark, good to have you with us. You spent more than 2 decades sitting at the intersection of philanthropy, civic leadership, and community investment. From where you sit, what does it actually take to move a region from good intention to real systematic change?
That's a great question. And I can say that it takes action. It takes people who bring ideas to the table, develop them into actual social enterprises, things that can provide a theory of change for getting things done. So when we do X, Y happens. And when we know that, then we need to invest in it. And after that investment, the social enterprise needs to go forward and find as many places as possible to do that work.
And that is exactly what Rally is built to do. So Rally coordinates the investment, builds the evidence, gives institutions something worth trusting. And so let's see what the room thinks is standing in the way of that right now. So we're going to launch. We're going to open up our first poll now. You will see it appear on your screen. The question is, what do you see as the biggest barrier to solving Central Florida's social and environmental challenges? So go ahead, make your selection, and we'll give you about 2 minutes to bring in your responses. But while we wait, Mark, I want to come back to you and say you've seen a lot of regional effort come and go over the years. And so, what separates the ones that actually move the needle from the ones that stall out?
Well, I think it's the community coming together to recognize things that work, things that are measurable, and then getting behind them. We're in a place where there are lots of people who come here and a lot of people who live here who love it, but we also have a kind of shiny attraction to new things that we sometimes don't finish. And so it's really important that when things work, we all get behind them and we keep them working.
Good. Let's take a look at some of these results here. I'm just trying to see if I can. All right. So what we're seeing here is siloed efforts between sectors,
Yeah.
lack of funding for experimentation, and difficulty moving from ideas to action. So those are the top three, with lack of funding and experimentation at the very, very top of the list. With that being said, so Mark, like I said, I'm not surprised by the results. What we're hearing from this room is what we're seeing across communities and even our work here at rallies. And so these barriers are real, and they are not just going away on their own. So Mark, you have brokered cross-sector partnerships across this region for more than 2 decades. What does it actually? First of all, I just want you to respond to kind of like the results of the poll, but I also want to understand from your perspective, what does it actually take to get institutions to stop working in silos, which showed up as the second largest issue, and start investing in shared infrastructure?
So, two ways I would answer that question. If we could fix the bottom three things on the list, the top two would be fixed, right?
Mm.
So, the general thought is if I'm working on something and I see my only blockage being capital, then I would tell you my only problem is I can't get any money from anybody. But if you could fix the bottom three things on that list, money would flow. Money doesn't lead, money follows action and outcomes.
So I think the poll results, in your words, help cement the argument for a regional utility. And when you have a permanent infrastructure designed to de-risk the process, to test before you scale, to build evidence before you commit, you stop guessing as a leader, and you start investing institutional capital, energy, and adoption, and start adopting with confidence. And the ventures you're about to see today, meet today, demonstrate a critical component in all of this, right? And show you how our approach works. And every one of them has been through our accelerator. Every one of them has a pilot ready opportunity that's ready to go. The question is not whether these solutions are ready. The question is whether your organization and others are ready to be a part of testing one, which brings us to our next poll question. So we're going to go ahead and open that up, which is poll question number two. It's on your screen. So how ready do you think Central Florida is to innovate around its toughest issues? So go ahead and select your answer. And while we wait, Mark, from your vantage point, where do you see the greatest appetite for this kind of coordinated, evidence-based approach that Rally is taking, and where is the region leaning into?
Well, look, when you look at the issues in the community by data, they are healthcare, education, human services, housing, all things that Rally Fellows have worked on or are working on. And what you'll also see is that as people figure out that nothing is in a silo, so sometimes trying to solve a complex problem means solving a series of problems, not just the thing. I'm fond of telling people that feeding hungry people doesn't stop food insecurity.
Nice. I, I was interested in seeing these poll results. I'm not seeing them on screen. Mark, are you seeing them at
I,
all on your
I,
end?
no, I can't see them.
Okay. Well, listen, we'll trust. Let's keep moving forward. Maybe those results will show up. But Mark, when assuming what the room has told us, what I guess let's try to figure out how to reframe this without knowing that we don't see the results. It's so in terms of the region priorities and like where you think that they are, how does that shape how the foundation thinks, or how does a regional priority shape how the foundation thinks about where it directs its support and its effort?
So yeah, so they drive everything we do. We have a data collection process that identifies all the things that roll up into problems that people may talk about around the community, right? So it's not uncommon for people to say housing is our main problem, but housing encompasses healthcare, transportation, access to childcare in some cases. And so if you're going to fix housing, it's not just about finding homes for people. It's about figuring out why are they homeless in the first place and solving those problems. And those problems are sometimes more difficult and they have to be solved together. So when we look at data, we're always trying to figure out who's got the best approach to a piloted process that shows outcomes. And then we look to see how can that be scaled? How can we do more of that or get more people doing the same thing?
Nice. So, Mark, thank you so much. The foundation's willingness to anchor this infrastructure, which we call Rally, to say that Central Florida deserves a permanent testing utility, not just a rotating set of programs. That commitment is what makes everything you are about to see possible. And so, before we leave, Mark, are there any final words that you would like to say to the audience and the fellows before we let you go back to doing the important work of the foundation?
Well, I would say just three things. One, we appreciate Rally and you, Kyle. It has been very successful at doing many of the things that I've talked about. What I would say to the audience is jump in, grab something you see here today and reach out and see if you can identify a way to pilot something with that Rally Fellow that will get you to an outcome you need, but might also get all of us in the community closer to something larger that we need to have happen. And then the third thing I would say to all the Rally Fellows is congratulations. This is a great team of people who've done really hard work, and you deserve to get some feedback about it today.
Well, thank you, Mark, for your time. We'll let you go and we'll get back to the work of Rally. So appreciate your time today.
Appreciate it. Thanks,
All
Kyle.
right. So moving on to the next piece, which is the people that you all come to see, right? So our first block of fellows represents what we like to say the sourcing, uh, the building of the grid. These entrepreneurs came to Rally with a real problem, a serious hypothesis, and the discipline to test it. They've spent 16 weeks refining their venture and impact models, identifying their customers and beneficiaries, and developing pilot opportunities ready for the right institutional partners. And so, as you watch, I want you to keep one question in mind: who in your network should be talking to this person? So, let's get to our first fellow. Florida hospitals are carrying a significant uncompensated care burden, and a large portion of it is walking out of the doors, not because patients are ineligible for coverage, but because they cannot navigate the process to get it. Alyssa Wilbanks is the co-founder of Unbound Disability Claims. Her platform fits directly inside of hospitals' existing financial counseling workflow. It digitizes the entire Social Security disability claim building process, structured interviews, medical record retrieval, legal theory construction, and turns what is currently an incomplete referral into a completed Medicare case. For a cohort of just 40 patients, the projected first year return is nearly $500,000 against a pilot cost of roughly 10,000. The math is not complicated. So let's go ahead and see what Alyssa has built.
Hi everyone, my name is Alyssa and I'm the co-founder of Unbound Disability Claims. We're aiming to partner with high-volume acute care systems, hospitals that are carrying the weight of Florida's uncompensated care. Right now, your infrastructure is missing the tools needed to help patients actually cross the finish line. Without a self-service tool for Social Security disability claim building, thousands of eligible patients remain uninsured. That translates to an estimated $15 million in Medicaid reimbursements that walk out the door every year simply because the patients couldn't complete their claim. The Unbound Claim Navigator fits seamlessly into your existing financial counseling ecosystem. We've digitized the entire claim building process, the structured interviews, medical record retrieval, and legal theory construction. It provides the missing infrastructure needed to convert chronically ill, uninsured patients into reimbursed Medicaid cases. These beneficiaries are already in your financial counseling offices today. They're uninsured adults with conditions severe enough to halt their ability to work. Currently, the cycle breaks when they're sent home to navigate a federal process that even legal professionals find daunting. By providing the Claim Navigator, we close that loop and turn a mandatory policy into a successful Medicaid recovery. This is a standalone web app. It doesn't touch your EHR or your billing system. In the first 30 days of the pilot, we will orient your staff and begin enrolling patients. Over the next 60 days, patients will build and submit claims through the Unbound Claim Navigator. In the following 12 months, Unbound handles all outcome tracking. The only change to your workflow is a single referral step. Your staff handles the referral, we do the rest. Every time a claim is approved, you will receive an average of $16,603 in Medicaid reimbursements that otherwise would have been written off. For this pilot, a small cohort of 40 patients is projected to generate nearly $500,000 in first-year revenue. Compared to a pilot cost of roughly $10,000, you're looking at a 45 times return on your investment. We provide the entire engine, the platform, HIPAA security, and 15 months of tracking. We're offering a pilot rate of $249 per patient. That's half off our standard fee because we're invested in proving this ROI. What we ask in return is straightforward: a few minutes per referral from your team and device access for patients who need it. On security, we meet or exceed healthcare standards with SOC 2 Type 2 infrastructure and assigned BIA. Finally, we offer a clean exit. Since we've never integrated with your EHR, there's nothing to unwind. When the pilot concludes, your workflow returns to baseline instantly. Whether we move forward is a mutual decision based entirely on the success of the data.
Awesome. Well, first of all, I'd like to say that I was really impressed by the number. If a hospital system is getting that kind of ROI, you should be getting a lot of calls after this session. But before we go there, I just want to go back to something you said, Alyssa. You said that the only change to a hospital's workflow is a single referral step. And for financial counseling and counseling teams at hospitals that are already stretched, what does that actually look like on day one? And what does the 15 months of outcome tracking tell a healthcare system that you could not see before, or that they could not see before?
Yes, so the single referral step is when the financial team is trying to work out the insurance to pay for the treatment and they realize this patient is uninsured. It creates a flag, And then the social worker that is helping them with the financial application to reduce their liability for the medical bill associated with their care, they flag that they will be potentially eligible for disability. And they go through a simple 5-question pre-qualification. If they pass this, they're eligible to join the program and can be enrolled as a patient in the pilot. And as for the tracking, basically what we're trying to see is we get the application data from the applicant themselves. So we find out the approval rate, how long it took for approvals. And then when your hospital bills Medicaid for the recouped care, you guys at the hospital systems will just send over the full Medicaid amount that you got reimbursed, and we'll add that to our statistics. And in month 16, we will create an entire packet with all the data to share so you guys know how you did financially and how your patients did with the system and how your staff likes incorporating this into their workflow.
Awesome. Well, that's good stuff, and that's the kind of evidence these leaders need in order to adopt with confidence. Before we let you go, Alyssa, can you give us just a little bit of snapshot about the person? Who is Alyssa? Like, what brought you to this problem? Like, why do you care about it? Why do you choose to invest your time and your money and other people's money into solving this specific issue?
I have worked as a disability representative for 5 years now. I grew up around disability. My grandfather has been disabled since he was in his 20s. So he was on Social Security my entire life. And then both my mother and my grandmother were hearing reporters for the Social Security Administration. So I've been around Social Security my whole life, and I was just tired of seeing eligible applicants get denied for frivolous reasons like an incomplete application or not having all the records submitted. So I just needed to help.
Very consistent with what we normally see from social entrepreneurs, that their work is driven by underlying passion that moves beyond money. So thank you very much, Alyssa, for your time in the program. Also, thank you for your time here, and I look forward to you getting a ton of phone calls on people who are trying to lift your pilot opportunity within the organization. So thank you again. All right,
Thank
so
you.
moving on, you're welcome. All right, so moving on to our next fellow, let me give you a little background on this individual and their effort before we launch into their video. So for more than 1 in 10 families in the United States, or more than 1 in 10 families in the United States is a mixed status family. So these households are doing the gig work, right? They're earning cash income, and they're largely operating outside of the traditional financial systems. Not because they choose to, but because the systems were not built for them. Darren Liddell is a co-founder and CEO of Vista Prosperity. Vista works through nonprofit organizations that already offer tax preparation and financial coaching to help immigrant families access I-10s, the foundational credential that unlocks access to bank accounts, credit, home ownership, and retirement safety or retirement savings. So think of it as a social security number, but for those who are not citizens. So Vista has already run 3 pilots. Its prior cohorts have seen a 90% I-10 award rate. Darren is looking for nonprofit partners ready to put that model to work. So let's go ahead and take a look at Darren's work.
Hi, I'm Darren Liddell, the co-founder and CEO of Vesta. We're helping nonprofit organizations turn tax filing and financial coaching into safe, scalable, and accessible financial empowerment. So we're intentionally working to serve immigrant families at the tax moment through nonprofit organizations doing tax work and financial coaching. We're helping these clients access government systems that are often scary and difficult to get to and hard to navigate. Once folks access these government systems, we're then connecting them to financial services to build long-term wealth that really exist on paper in this country and build something to pass on to their family. So what's our solution? We've specifically built a software tool for nonprofit organizations that provides secure intake and I-10 workflows. So an I-10 is the basis of building wealth in this country if you lack a social. With an ITIN, you can do things like open a bank account, build credit. You can also do things like start a business and open a home, save for retirement, and invest. It's a really powerful tool that's the foundation of building wealth if you don't have it, or if you don't have a social. In addition to that, we offer address protection tools for those facing fear, because we understand that right now it's a really scary time for immigrants, and folks often want to make sure that things are private and confidential. So who are beneficiaries? We're again intentionally serving I-10 filers, those without social security numbers, and the families that they're a part of. Over 1 in 10 families in the US is a mixed status family. So I-10 filers exist everywhere. These folks are often doing gig work or doing cash income, and again, not transacting in traditional financial systems. So what's our pilot timeline? Over the course of 90 days, we're going to focus on quickly understanding your program in the first 2 weeks. The next 2 months are going to focus on serving and saving staff client time. We'll assist clients, and then in the last 2 weeks, focus on evaluation and impact. What can we do better? What went well? And what outcomes did the clients achieve? In terms of what we're measuring, we're really looking at, can we serve about 50 I-10 filers per month? It can be less, of course, but that's about what we believe that we can serve. And then from our prior pilots, we've had 3 already. We've seen that around 90% of folks are getting and being awarded those I-10s. From after getting those I-10s, are folks opening those accounts that we've mentioned earlier, and are we saving staff time, most importantly, so that folks can serve more folks and increase the capacity that the organization is serving. So as with any pilot, there's an investment on both sides. Vesta is providing the platform access. We're offering I-10 support and training resources for staff, as well as implementation support throughout the entirety of the pilot. And then on the partner side, we really hope that folks will invest just a little bit of staff time in terms of coordinating with us, as well as integration and explaining their tax preparation workflows. What does intake look like? What is scheduling? Can you give us feedback? Those we see as really important in a pilot partner. Lastly, we're IRS certified and put client privacy first. We want to make sure things are secure and confidential for the clients while handling documents. We want to make sure only those who need access have it in terms of client data. And lastly, we want to keep things human powered and human first. We said it's really core to the nonprofit experience, and we don't want to take that away.
All right, Darren. You know what? The first thing I want to just say is before we get into the question I have for you during the session is that you uh, uh, are the representation of persistence. Darren applied to Rally a few times. Each time he got the feedback, he applied the feedback, and we saw the evolution. And so it was really cool when we finally accepted him into the program, and we saw that same type of work throughout the duration of the program. So Darren, thank you for that. And one of the things I want to go back to is you said you want to keep the experience with Vestige, keep the experience human powered and human first. So that nonprofit, or I'm sorry, keep the experience human powered and human first. That the nonprofit relationship is core to how this works. What does the right partner organization look like to you, Darren, and what does Vista actually ask of the staff on their end during the 90-day pilot period?
Yeah, great question, Kyle. So first off, thank you for taking a chance on me. Really grateful to have been a part of Rally and to continue to connect with Central Florida partners through the relationships that we built. And then in terms of what it looks like on the ground, so we're intentionally focused on starting with organizations that are already serving immigrants. They may be doing financial coaching, they may be doing tax prep, or they may just be working with immigrants on the daily. And then we're integrating into their systems to really make sure that we're like having human connections around the immigration moment and around the tax preparation moment. A lot of folks don't realize this, but immigrants are paying taxes. Even folks that don't have status are paying taxes every year because it's the right thing to do. Folks are paying in and often not getting very much of those benefits. So we want to make sure that the human aspect is really core and that the immigrant folks are able to ask questions and really have a clear path for what's going to happen next and just have a clear understanding. So the human element is still really important, but we're combining that human element with our software platform that should make things seamless, allow folks to ask questions in a way that is just simple and easy, but also still connect to that human, either through our team or through the nonprofits team.
Awesome. The last question before we let you go is just like Alyssa, everybody's curious. myself curious, or at least I understand, but I think it's good for other folks to understand. What's the thing that led you to this work? Like, why do you choose to do the work that you're doing today?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I spent about 6 years living in Miami, and while I was there, I worked at a nonprofit as a financial coach, serving folks every day. And I saw at the tax moment, immigrants are having a really hard time. To get an I-10, traditionally, you've got to mail your passport off to the IRS. That, of course, is terrifying and scary, and nobody wants to do that. So I learned that you could get certified and you basically make a copy of that document, certify it, and then send off the copy. And that, of course, like increases confidence substantially for the clients. So as I went on to become a founder and think like maybe there's a problem that can be solved here, I met with my co-founder who's an immigrant and has had a variety of statuses over the course of her time in the US. And we thought, okay, we think there's a really great way to combine like financial coaching and immigrant experience, do something really unique, and sprinkle in that tech to save folks time. So that's what led to the launch of Vesta, and we've been really grateful to really see the appreciation from the clients for folks who are like, I've wanted to do this. I knew about it forever, but just didn't know the steps 'cause it's really complicated. So that's been been rewarding and why we do the work.
Awesome. Well, Darren, the experience is there, the commitment is there, the pilot opportunity is there. All we need is somebody, obviously, an organization to come alongside of you and to bring it in so that we can see how it transforms Central Florida. So once again, thank you for your time at Rally and throughout the accelerator. And so let's go ahead and move on to our next fellow. Once again, like I said, thanks, Darren. So our next fellow is associated with INRA. So in-home health-based care, paid caregivers, in-home based care, paid caregivers see what's happening between clinical visits. They see the fall risk before the fall, the missed meal, the change in behavior, but too often that signal never reaches the care team in time to act. And so Jamie Swan is a nurse and a former Medicaid operator who built INRA to solve exactly that problem. She describes it as the smoke detector for home-based care. Signal, route, act. INRA is an overlay. It does not replace electronic visit verification, electronic health records, or case management systems. There is no app for caregivers to download. Over the 90 days, over the 90-day pilot, it triggers an active signal flow between caregivers and care teams with a go or no-go decision at day 45. The hero metric is whether caregivers' concerns can be captured, routed, and acted on before they become a crisis. So let's take a look at James' work.
Hi, I'm Jamie Swan, founder of INRA. I'm a nurse and a former Medicaid operator, and I built INRA from a problem that I spent years trying to solve. INRA is the smoke detector for home-based care. The idea is simple: signal, route, act. Paid caregivers in the home see changes first: a fall risk, a missed meal, a change in behavior. But too often, that signal does not reach the people who can act in time. Our target sandbox is aging at home. We are looking for a local area on aging paired with a primary care provider that is serving the same high-risk seniors clinically. The friction is simple. Paid caregivers see risk first, but care teams often find out too late. This is the problem in one image. 2 falls happen, but no one outside the home knows. But the third fall is the one that changes everything, and it results in a hospitalization, perhaps a nursing facility placement, and loss of independence. INRA exists so that the third fall never happens. The pilot is intentionally low lift. INRA is an overlay, not a replacement. We don't replace electronic visit verification or electronic health records or case management systems. There's no app for paid caregivers to download. It's minimal data exchange. And over 90 days, we turn on an active signal flow, review the data at day 45, and make a go or no-go decision at day 90. The hero metric is signal to action rate. Can caregiver concerns be captured, routed, reviewed, and acted on within 90 days? Our adoption target is 75% of active paid caregiver submissions. We also track review rates and time to action. The point is not to just collect check-ins. The point is proving that what caregivers see can become care team action. INRA provides the platform, onboarding, training, weekly stand-ups, and a day 45 and day 90 readout. What we need from our partners is a named pilot lead, a defined member cohort, and staff who can respond to the flags, and 30-minute weekly stand-ups. This is designed to be low burden with real operational learning. Finally, this is built to be safe and reversible. INRA has HIPAA-ready infrastructure for secure PHI pilots, and BAAs are executed before any PHI is touched. If the pilot ends, check-ins stop, access is removed, and operations are restored. Nothing is modified, nothing is left behind. The goal is simple. Make sure that the people closest to care are heard early enough to prevent crisis, because care is always communal. Thank you.
All right, Jamie, you welcome, and you said that you said that during your video, honor is this, so the third fall never happens. So what does a pilot ask of the care organization on their end, and what does a 75% caregiver submission rate actually prove to the health system that is considering adopting this at scale?
Yeah, those are great questions. I think the biggest thing is that 75% submission rate. What we hear, what I hear often is, why are these frontline paid caregivers who are barely making above minimum wage, why are they going to do anything else? They've already got a bunch of documentation, a lot of, as I said, electronic visit verification, compliance stuff to do. Why are they going to submit? So the first thing we have to show is that they will, that they care enough to take that time, and that INRA has been designed in a way that makes submission for them very easy. So then from our partner organizations, we need someone who will receive that signal. Mrs. Jones fell today but had no injury, and then act on it. Does the care team need to be adjusted? Do we need to do something different? Handrails need to get put in, that sort of thing. So we need somebody from those partner organizations that will act on those risk signals when they come in. Does that answer your question, Kyle?
Yeah. Sure, you answered how you answered it. So thank you, Jamie. One last quick question before we leave today. You are a nurse, worked with inside of the system. Can you give us just a really short snippet, 30-second snippet on why, what brings you to this work, and why do you continue to do it?
Mm-hmm. I've worked in Medicaid for over 15 years now, and I worked specifically with this high need population for over 10 years, and continued to work on this problem. We have people in the home every single day, and we're not using that intelligence in a meaningful way to improve outcomes for our most vulnerable community members. And so this was the result of me piloting at my prior role multiple ways to fix this problem, because I'm passionate about it.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your work during the program. And hopefully you get a ton of calls from frontline organizations in the healthcare system who are looking to bring your opportunity, your pilot opportunity, into their place. And so thanks again, Jamie, for your work.
Thank you, Kyle.
You're welcome. All right, coming up next is fellow number 4. So for most manufacturers are buying what we like to say virgin plastic, or not we, but they like to say buying virgin plastics to make products while simultaneously paying to remove waste. So Elvina Beck looked at the contradiction and saw a business model. She is the founder of Ground Up, the formula is straightforward. Coffee waste mixed with some recycled plastics, and mixed with some other cellulose acetate miners. This is very Alvina, fed into the same injection mold machines manufacturers are already running. So that's the important piece. The mold stays the same. The machine stays the same. The pellets actually change. And the finished product is durable, strong, and made from waste that would otherwise sit in a landfill for 500 years. So Ground Up's first pilot partner is Stellar Lights, who is actually a former Raleigh Fellow, which is converting its plastic molded components from virgin materials to waste-based material. Alvina is looking for the next pilot opportunity with the next organization. So let's go ahead and take a look at her work.
Hey, my name's Alvina. We throw materials out every day and then buy new materials to replace it. Organizations are buying plastic products and then paying to remove waste. So what if waste could become our feedstock? Coffee waste mixed with recycled plastic, cellulose acetate binders. We could turn local waste into durable products. And who would win? Brands that want to go green. They want to spend less on materials instead of 100% plastic comes at a cost. Waste is free, just collection. Municipalities that want to divert waste from their landfills and reduce methane that goes into the ozone. And manufacturers that like to have a new product on their shelf for these futuristic, sustainable new clients that they're getting. And the best part, there's no new manufacturing system required because we've tested in our R&D process that the same waste and pellets go into existing mold injection machines and heat presses. So nothing changes. The mold stays the same. The machine stays the same. The pellets change. They're now waste-based, but the finished product feels the same. It's durable and strong, and you probably couldn't tell the difference. So we measure our success with waste diverted, virgin plastic displaced, local production, and our prototype performance based on what you're used to. The first product I would create right off the bat is when you go to the nursery or the hardware store and you buy a plant to put into the ground, you throw away the pot that it came in. That makes no sense because it's going to be in the landfill for 500 years. We should really make a biodegradable pot for every plant that you purchase. We could turn products that you drink out of and you eat from that are really high in microplastics into this biodegradable natural product. It would be waste such as coffee grounds or passion fruit rinds or biochar into the same mold injection machine that every other company uses in the world. And you combine it with a pellet that is cellulose acetate or PHA or RPP, recycled polypropylene, and then you create a product that you're totally used to, but is made out of waste. Our pilot partners mean a lot for this project. So we're starting with Stellar Lighting Systems. They are already melting their aluminum to create their products, but their plastic is virgin. Not anymore. Now we will be producing their plastic molded items that hold the mechanics out of coffee grounds in order to have them be 100% sustainable. And every brand can do this too. So if you're interested in collaborating, alvina@podshare.com, coffee ground up.
All right, Alvina, I'm super excited about this product. My wife buys a lot of potted plants. We have a lot of plastic pots sitting around that I ultimately have to discard. So this feels very, very cool to me. So one of the things you said is that the machine stays the same. The pellets change for the manufacturer sitting in this room, even the potted plant people, the nurseries, who has a sustainability commitment and plastic components in their product line. What does it actually take to run a pilot from ground up, and what do they walk away with in the end?
All it takes is a mold, and people manufacturing knows what that is. It could be an aluminum or a stainless steel mold, depending on how many capacities we want. And ultimately, instead of using the pellets that are petroleum based, we use this organic biomaterial. And then you create the same product. And now we've just taken the mold and switched it out. Whether we create a new mold with a new file or we use your existing mold, we can create it with just the material change.
Okay, so essentially, I think if I'm hearing you correctly, obviously they have a product that they're looking to replace or maybe potentially replace with this. You get the design, you then take your pellets, swap out the other pellets that are made that are generally used to make the product, and you put your pellets in and make the mold, and then therefore you start the period of, or you want to produce a one-to-one to be able to test. Does that sound about
Totally.
right?
Yeah, so
Okay.
either we can manufacture it or we can provide the pellets to manufacturers. Either or works. If you don't have a manufacturing facility, but you're a brand and you have a product like Stellar, then we can create A to Z and ship it to you. Or you are a manufacturer and you're interested in a sustainability portion at your division, then I could lead it, consult it, help with it based on the R&D research I'm doing with biodegradable materials.
Awesome. Okay, awesome. Well, Avina, one of the things about your background is that you're very well connected to this. Most folks don't know that she owns a bunch of coffee shops or has some coffee shops. She's also a contractor. She has her general contracting license in California. And so, Alvina, I just want to, I've probably given a little bit of insight into what brings you to the work, but can you just give us a really quick answer on or a short answer or 30-second answer on terms of what is it that brings you to this work, and why do you keep doing this work every day?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the microplastics that are in our food. It should be bothering everybody. And the methane that goes into our ozone with the landfill waste should be bothering people if you're an environmentalist. So whether you're health conscious or world conscious, plastics are bad. They're actually made to last, and we're using them as one-offs. That is so broken, and it's going to take a while for us to change, but that's kind of what I'm here for. I do own coffee shops. I also own hostels, and I am a licensed general contractor. As the consumer, from the consumer side or from the construction side, there's so much waste. But once again, we're throwing it out just to buy it again, and we should get off of petroleum oil dependence. So I think there's a conversation to be had here. And if you're interested in the discovery portion, I'd love to be that person that gets your manufacturing or your brand to be green or brown in this sense, in order to use waste to upcycle. And I'm telling you, you're going to feel, you're not even going to know the difference, but you're going to feel better about it.
Awesome. Well, Alvina, I do like that concept because another person who uses a lot of plastics in our house is our kid. All his toys are made with plastic. He outgrows them and we have to throw them out or give them away. It would be nice if we could just dig a hole, put them in the ground, and plant a tree over them, and that tree produce fruit for us in the future to eat.
Yes.
With that being said, Alvina, thank you very much for your time today and your work here at Rally.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, coming up is our last fellow in this batch. And so before we move into their video, vacant storefronts are not just an eyesore. They are a public safety problem, an economic problem, and a civic credibility problem. And municipalities and CRAs and downtown districts are actually accountable for them, even when they do not own the buildings created themselves or creating the problem. So Evan Snow is the co-founder of Zero Empty Spaces, which converts vacant commercial properties into affordable work studios and a creative hub for local artists, turning dark corridors into active ones and empty buildings into community destinations. One point of contact, no new city departments, no city-run artist program. Evan has activated 34 locations across 5 states and welcomed over 850 artists to his studios. The question is not whether the model works. The question is which corridor in Central Florida goes first. Let's take a look at Evan's work.
Zero Empty Spaces turns vacant commercial spaces into affordable working artist studios and creative placemaking hubs. We see vacancy as infrastructure, empty space that can be activated to create safety, culture, activity, and local momentum. This pilot is built for municipalities, CRAs, downtown districts, main streets, and economic development partners. They are responsible for safety, foot traffic, curb appeal, and economic momentum. even when they do not own the vacant buildings creating the problem. Vacancy may be privately owned, but its impact is public. Zero empty spaces turns dark storefronts into daily creative activation. Artists work, visitors come in, open studios and workshops happen, the corridor gets a reason for people to return. We've activated over 34 locations across 5 states and welcomed over 850 artists and have operated this model for 6+ years. The primary beneficiary is the corridor community. Residents and visitors experience a more active place. Nearby businesses benefit from added energy and foot traffic. Artists gain affordable workspace and visibility. Civic stakeholders gain a vacant gap turned into civic asset. This is an addition, not an overlay. There's no software, no new city department, no city-run artist program. Zero Empty Spaces serves as one point of contact and handles artists, operations, utilities, maintenance, programming, measurement, and reporting. The requested minimum runway is 180 days for us to get the activation going. The proof is safety and foot traffic. We compare incident data before and during the activation. We track visitors entering the space and gather nearby business feedback. The key question, did the corridor become safer, more active, and more useful from this activation? The municipality or district provides safety data, pilot funding, and property owner connections. The property owner provides a code-compliant vacant space with a minimum of 180-day access. Zero Empty Spaces provides the operating model, artist insurance, utilities, HVAC, water, maintenance, operations, and reporting. Clear roles, no hidden lift. Zero Empty Spaces operates as the tenant and handles compliance, business license, certificate of occupancy, insurance, ADA compliance, and fire life safety pathways. Once a permanent tenant is secured, we vacate with the 30-day notice and return the space back to the condition we received it in, if not improved. The city leaves with clearer vacancy data, real community response, and practical next steps. This is vacancy as infrastructure, turning empty spaces into safety, culture, activity, and momentum.
All right, Evan, welcome. You said that you measure success by comparing safety and foot tracking data before and during and after activation. For a CRA or downtown district sitting in this room, the question you talked a little bit about what 180 days actually looks like, and so can you give a little bit of context on why the measurement of foot traffic and safety is important to the city, and then ultimately what does the pilot kind of just give us a little bit of more detail around what it actually looks like on the end of the city? Like what do they get and what do they walk away with?
Sure. We found throughout this experience that activity creates activity, and vacancy, while it is a private property owner's issue, it is a public problem. People don't want to walk to the dark wing of a mall or a corridor or a block or a street or a shopping center. And if people don't want to walk there, then other businesses don't want to invest their money and open in the surrounding adjacent businesses. So by activating these corridors, it does drive foot traffic. It does decrease incidents of crime, the unhoused being able to camp outside of the spaces. And it does support the walkability of corridors to provide more economic impact for the neighboring tenants, those businesses, and the overall greater initiatives of the communities. And then once these closed doors are unlocked to create these new opportunities, now local members of the community are able to pursue their craft, their passion, their creative outlet, or their profession, whatever it may be for them, and are able to potentially and eventually go full-time, with it, their art form, their creativity, entrepreneurship, whatever it may be for them. And we're just so glad to be able to unlock these closed doors to create those opportunities.
Yeah, it sounds like Zero Empty Spaces hits right with the mission of every municipality, which is how do you attract and retain residents, businesses, and visitors, and this hits it right square in the nose. Real quick before we leave, Evan, if you can just give us 30 seconds on what brought you to this work.
Art had a profound impact on mine and my business partner's life, and we've seen the ability for art to transform communities. But a lot of times, to your first question, who's going to handle that problem? It's a lot of siloed efforts. So we've, grown into this role and pursued this path of being that conduit between the private property owners, the cities, the stakeholders, and the artists and the greater community. And we're just so glad to be able to unlock these closed doors, to create these launching pads, these incubation opportunities, so that we can allow local members of our community to test the market on an affordable basis before they look to make a full-time permanent commitment. And we're so glad to be supporting Central Florida and Orlando through Rally.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Evans, for your time and being a part of the program. Hopefully you get a lot of calls and contacts from local municipalities who are looking to activate their empty spaces within their neighborhoods. So thank you, Evan, for your time. All right, so we are at the midpoint of our showcase, and I want to pause, take a pause here intentionally. The ventures you just met are pilot ready. Their models are refined. Their evidence is building. But a pilot without an institutional home is still just a good idea waiting for permission. And so what moves an idea from the grid into the real world is what I call the institutional handshake. The moment a healthcare system, a school district, a housing authority, a corporation says, we will test this inside our organization and we will give it a real environment, real data, and a fair evaluation. So joining me now is someone who leads the function, leads that function at one of Central Florida's most important institutions. Enrico is the executive director of strategic innovation at Advent Health Central Florida, where he leads their innovation accelerator, identifying opportunities and developing the new solutions for one of the region's largest healthcare system. Welcome, Enrico.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me.
Awesome. Well, Enrico, you sit on the other side of the institutional handshake. You're a person inside the large organizations who evaluate whether a new solution is worth testing. What does a venture need to bring to that conversation to earn a yes from you?
I mean, I think that I've heard some things that are really near and dear to my heart and to where we're focused in the innovation space, and that is solving a problem totally for an organization and owning that problem. We often talk about logistics when it comes to where our innovation focuses from a tool perspective, because a lot of times in the past, somebody created a great solution, but it did require a lot from the client to set up infrastructure in order to activate that solution. So great idea, great concept, great tool, but if we have to build a team of 5 or 10 FTEs in order to activate it, then that requires a lot from us. And I think we've seen a shift, thankfully, in a direction where these vendors are actually owning the problem, and they're saying, you know what, this is turnkey solution. You implement it, and we take care of the rest. So the heavy lifting is on us. So when we're looking to identify solutions, it's really important that the lift from us is as minimal as possible, and it's really creating an easier time for our team members.
And that's exactly what I wanted to hear, and why Rally's infrastructure is designed is exactly what Rally's infrastructure is designed to do. Ventures that are not just promising, but do the heavy lifting and do the kind of work that helps create decision-ready insight. So let's see what the room thinks we need in terms of our attention, in terms of the most urgent issues. So we're going to go ahead and during this conversation, open poll 3 now. So take a look at your screen. In this, the question is, which regional issue do you believe most need innovation right now? So go ahead, select your answer, and then I'll continue this conversation with Enrico. So Enrico, while we're waiting for those results to come in, what is the hardest part of getting a large institution to say yes to testing something that's really, really new, as we like to say, on the frontier?
So for us, we have a history of being very risk averse when it comes to taking chances on new solutions. We have historically liked the tried and true approach. We like to ask who's done it first and what are their results. I don't ever have a conversation with key stakeholders where they're not asking, can we talk to one of their biggest clients? This is something that I think just comes with becoming a large organization. You have to take less risks, but we have identified the pace at which change is happening and that we have to adapt with those changes. There are things that we have to stay true to that risk averse mentality, which is like clinical decision making, anything that's attached to our electronic medical record. Those things we need to make sure they're tried and true and they can handle an organization of our size. But for things that are impacting our consumers, our team members in a very niche way, or the communities that we serve, those are the areas that we don't see a lot of solutions bubble up. And so we will need to enter into these spaces where we're piloting and we're helping build alongside the vendor. So those are, I think, opportunities that are most exciting for us. But it is a mind shift for a lot of the more senior leaders because they are used to, a known entity being what we're pursuing. But we're slowly but surely getting them in a more comfortable state.
Awesome. Well, let's take a look at these poll results. At the top of the list are affordable housing and placemaking. 50% of respondents said that actually that is an issue that needs to be solved right now. We would all agree with that. And then right afterwards is health and well-being, which is exactly where Advent Health sits. So, Rico, obviously these health and wellness would not surprise you as a result. And someone who's leading innovation inside of a large healthcare system, what does this tell you about where Advent places its priority, and then like where does it place its priority? I know you and I have had some conversations, but it'll be very good to hear for the audience to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. Something about affordable housing is obviously an impact to the communities that we serve and we provide care in, but that's also an impact to team members. Our organization is made up of just in Central Florida alone, tens of thousands of employees, and across all of our company, over 100,000. So those are a lot of people with different positions at different income levels. They've got different family dynamics at home. So these things are also impacting our employees. And so we need to make sure that the people that we serve and the people who are serving them are given all of the benefits that we can afford them. They are given all the opportunities and the tools necessary so that they can have a good experience. Because if people are having a hard time just being able to afford to live, then they're probably not going to be giving the best care to our patients that we serve. We have really started to focus in a bigger way with mental health. That is something we feel has a downstream impact. It's not only the person that is struggling with those issues, it's also the care team around them, which is often their family. That's the first care team that is in their environment. And so that whole ecosystem has felt the impact of that mental health situation. And so we're really focused on trying to first aggregate what all the different solutions and partners are in town within the communities that we serve. And then once we have all of that, get a connected network so we can start to really make a difference in that space.
Awesome. Well, Enrico, I want to thank you for what Avid brings, what you have brought to this conversation, what Avid brings not only to the work but also the region. And so, thank you very much again, like I said, for your time and for joining us here today.
Of course, my pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. All right. That was good. So now you folks know we're on the frontier, exactly institutions like Avid, what they expect. And so once again, this validates the work of Rally and trying to get you folks prepared so that you can go out and run these pilots and you can bring the evidence so that their leaders can feel as competent as possible with investing and adopting solutions that you folks are building. So let's move on to our second block. These second block of fellows are testing the grid, or fellows are the testing stage. Once again, the testing stage of the grid. These entrepreneurs have moved past the concept, and they have early evidence, real users and pilot model structure to run inside institutional environments, which I talked about before. So let's go ahead and move to fellow number 6, and let's keep this conversation going. So for live music festivals and cultural events, live music festivals and cultural events have spent decades becoming more immersive, better sound, better visuals, richer experiences. Accessibility for deaf audience or hearing impaired audiences has not kept pace. Hearing loops and ASL interpretations were built for speech. They do not convey the emotional weight of music. Jeremy Chow is the founder of Tactus. His wearable vest translates music into vibrations in real time, not just bass rumbling, but the full texture of performance, bass, mids, and treble, felt through the body. It plugs into existing audio boards with a single line out, no infrastructure changes, no renovations, no new system. Jeremy arrives, sets up, runs the experience, packs up, and leaves a report on the impact. He is looking for venues and performing arts organizations willing to open their doors to 11 million Americans who also love music and have been simply excluded from the infrastructure built around it. Let's take a look at Jeremy's work.
Live music is one of the most powerful human experiences we have. But for millions of people, that experience has never been truly accessible. My name is Jeremy Chow, and this is Tactus. We've built a wearable technology that translates music into vibrations for the deaf community. Over the last few decades, live music, festivals, and cultural events have been expanding and growing. And while these events have become more immersive with better sound and visual experiences, accessibility for deaf audiences have not kept pace. Existing solutions like hearing loops and ASL interpretation were built for speech, and it doesn't really convey the emotional weight of music at a live performance. So if you run a music venue, this is for you, especially if you already have an accessibility commitment and you're wondering, what's the next step beyond what we're already doing? And how can we open up our venue to a new audience that's currently not coming in? That's exactly where Tactus fits. Our wearable technology comes in the form of a vest that translates music into vibrations in real time. It is completely wireless. You can get audio directly from your stage, conveying the full range of music, the bass, the mids, and the treble. So it's not just a rumble, but the actual texture of the performance is felt through the body. This was built together with the deaf community, and today it is already being used by deaf dancers, artists, and deaf schools. Now, they're part of a much larger community, 11 million in the US. And this community is not absent from music culture. They feel music, they love music, and they've simply been excluded from live music infrastructure built around it until now. How this works is that we'll plug into your existing audio board with a single line out. That's it. No infrastructure changes, no renovation, and no new systems. We'll work together to scope out the scale of the event. We'll make sure that we're well prepared for it. We arrive, we set up, we run the experience, we pack up. And at the end, we share some insights on the impact we made. Now, speaking of impact, here's what happens when we do. So far, everyone who has used it has reported an improved live concert experience. But what's really meaningful is seeing our technology bring the deaf community into live music events and continue to see them participate in this key social experience. To make this happen, we'll bring just about everything: the haptic vests, all the necessary hardware to connect to your system, and on-site staff to help with setup. As we collaborate, we want to work with your audio engineer during the setup, a staff member to support with communications and logistics, and a space near the entrance to distribute the vests and engage with the audience as they come in. Throughout this process, we want to be mindful and responsible. We are ADA aligned, FCC compliant, consent-based for all our surveys, pictures, and videos. For pilot, all equipment arrives and leaves with us. Your venue reverts back to the original state after the event. We leave nothing behind except the long-lasting impact on the attendees. And so if this resonates with you and your organization, we'd love to explore this together. Drop in your contact information or reach out and let's talk. Together, we can make music accessible for all.
Jeremy, one of the things that I've always appreciated with your product is that it just like with all the rest of them, it intersects with real operational needs, right? If you're a music venue, you're obviously trying to increase ticket sales, and you're trying to have and you may be missing a vertical, and your vest gives them access to a whole new different audience. But it also solves a real social and environmental need, especially in terms of the mental health of those who are individuals who are hard of are hearing disabled or hard of hearing. And so, Jeremy, you said that every person who has used Tactus reported an improved live concert event. And so for venue operators of a performing arts organization, for a venue operator or performing arts organization in this room with an existing accessibility commitment or wanting to open up maybe additional markets to individuals who are hearing impaired, what does the pilot actually look like? I know that you talked about it in practice, but what do they essentially come in with and walk away with after your experience?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I want to, make clear that, hey, we want to work together with venues and do a series of concerts, right? We want to see these individuals coming back. We want to see that it's really touching the deaf community, that they're bringing their friends for the next concert because, hey, I had such a great experience here, and I'd love to bring my friend and share the word within my community, a community that's extremely tight knit. And so what we hope to see is that it really opens up the doors to a whole new audience that previously maybe have not been participating and coming into these live events and live concerts. But it's such a great way to kind of break down these social barriers, to bring these people in and just have a great time and enjoy live music together along with their hearing friends. Those are some of the things that we've seen, that a deaf individual would bring their friends, whether deaf or hearing, and just enjoy music together. And those are those shared connections that we love to see there.
Awesome. Well, before we close this out, Jeremy, can you just really quickly, within 30 seconds, let the audience know what brought you to this work and why do you continue to do it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I met a deaf professor who's also a dancer and a choreographer. And so I learned about her. I thought, wow, that's so impressive. Like, how is she able to dance and teach dance even despite being deaf? I learned about her process of how she would learn music by putting her hands on speakers to feel the vibrations of the music. She would learn and memorize a song in that way. So when she's out dancing, the song is playing in her head in perfect rhythm. So I thought, okay, there must be an easier way. And, we bonded over our shared passion for music and worked together for the next 6 to 8 months, really developing something for her specifically. And at the end, she loved it so much, asked to keep the device. And it was really her words that, encouraged me and motivated me to continue working on it. She said, hey, Jeremy, I think this is great. I think there are other people within the deaf community that can really benefit from this. So that was what got us started.
Awesome. Well, Jeremy, thank you for your time in the program and thank you for showing up today and continue to good work. I'm sure a lot of music venues, Orlando has a bunch of them, should be reaching out to you soon. So once again, like I said, thank you.
Thanks, Kyle.
All right. All right. Moving on to our next fellow. Every city in Central Florida is running senior citizens. Yeah, they're running senior citizens, hopefully in a positive way and not into the ground. But every city in Central Florida is running senior centers, fitness programs, community programming, and neighborhood anchors. But what's happening? What happens when most of the seniors go home? Nobody's watching. Blood pressures climb, diabetes go unmanaged, or silent deterioration accelerated until the 911 call that changes everything. So Keelan Swain is a co-founder of Greens Health. The model is straightforward. A navigator enters your center, seniors are enrolled, devices are shipped, and daily monitoring begins. Medicare covers it, the city pays nothing. In a pilot of 50 patients over 3 months, 51% achieved blood pressure control within 30 days. One center, 30 centers, 90 days, no lock-in, no penalties. The data is yours. So let's take a look at Keelan's work.
Every city in Central Florida is running neighborhood centers for seniors. Fitness, programs, community. But what happens after they go home? The city has no visibility. For 89 days, nobody is watching. Blood pressure climbing, unmanaged diabetes, silent deterioration. Until the 911 call. That gap is where Greens Health lives. We go inside your center, a navigator, a device, daily monitoring. We catch problems before they become emergencies. Your city pays nothing. Medicare covers it. Her name is Estella, 90 years young. Goes to her neighborhood center every week, a full life, a big family. And she almost lost everything because a blood clot went undetected. Nobody was watching between visits. Estella is in your city. First 30 days, we show up. Navigator at your center, seniors enrolled, devices shipped. Days 31 to 60, we monitor. Every reading, every day. Day 90, you have the data. Continue, expand, or walk away. One number, 51%. 51% of seniors achieved blood pressure control within 30 days. 3 months, 50 patients. Grandparents staying home. Fewer ambulances. A community staying whole. One center, 30 seniors, 90 days. No lock-in, no penalties. Your data, yours to keep.
Keelan, welcome, welcome, welcome. One of the things that you said is that the city pays nothing. Medicare covers it, which is great. And so I'm wondering for cities and other municipalities who run like recreational centers and senior centers and things like that. What's the reason why they even should care about something like what you do? And if you can put that into a really cool, concise answer, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I would say happier seniors live longer, stay healthier, and they actually keep. Uh, One of the key areas is municipalities are 911 visits, right? That comes out of a city budget. The police department, the firefighter department, all these EMS systems comes from a city budget. So the more accidents that we can mitigate proactively, that is possible, the less of a burden or cost there is for the city. So that's how we'll sum it up. And also people love blue zones, right? People want to be in a city where they live to 100, 150, 200 years old. And I see Orlando and a lot of these cities in Central Florida being the next blue zone areas, if not already are.
Awesome. All right. Well, last but not least, really quickly, what brings you to this work?
Yeah, Estella Wilkins is actually my grandmother.
Mm.
She actually went to the hospital from a mild heart attack and had the blood clot. So my family and the navigators we chose have to go through the process of navigation, of monitoring, of keeping her out of the hospital to stay on track. And I'm proud to say she is now 92. And so that drove me to launch thinking my own. Also, my first job was in NASA, Cocoa Beach, Florida. And so I've taken my engineering prowess and my empathy for going through the situation and applied to a very, very large problem.
Awesome. Well, Keelan, let's continue the good work. Let's all help Central Florida become a blue zone. I would love to live to 100. Thank you, Keelan, for your work today and your time here at Raleigh. All right. Coming up next is our next fellow. Mental health behavior or Medicaid behavioral health providers are being asked to do more uh, with less, while regulators and payers tighten oversight. Most are still running compliance on manual charts and audits, spreadsheets, and after the fact reviews, which means most notes are never actually reviewed before billing. Risk remains invisible until it becomes a denied claim, a lost revenue event, or even an audit finding, or more work for already stretched staff. So Zach Dice is the founder of Penguin Health. His AI assistant platform reviews notes against payers, regulators, and program rules, flagging issues before they compound. Early results show that teams are saving 15 to 20 hours per week on quality audits alone, with 100% audit coverage, improved compliance scores, and fewer denials. So Zach grew up right here in Orlando. He's built this for providers who are doing the hardest work in the system. So let's take a look at what he has.
I'm Zach Dice, a Florida man born and raised right here in Orlando, and I'm the founder of Penguin Health. We build compliance and quality improvement software purpose-built for Medicaid behavioral health and safety net providers. These teams are being asked to do more with less, while regulators and payers are tightening oversight. Most providers still rely on manual chart audits, spreadsheets, and after-the-fact reviews, meaning that most notes are never actually reviewed before billing. As a result, risk is invisible until it becomes a denied claim, lost revenue, an audit finding, a fine, or more work for already overstretched staff. That's where Penguin comes in. We're building an AI-assisted note and chart auditing platform for quality, compliance, billing, and finance teams. We work with EHRs. We review notes against payer, regulator, and program rules, flagging these issues before they compound. The goal isn't to replace staff. It's to help staff stop hunting for errors manually and focus on what humans do well: judgment, coaching, follow-up, and care improvement. And we're starting with the compliance and quality teams. These are the people already spending hours opening charts, checking notes, documenting findings, and chasing corrections. We give them a clean queue and workflow of what actually needs their attention. And then we can work with billing teams to catch issues downstream before they become denials. We can work with clinical supervisors to give them better data and evidence to coach staff. And ultimately, patients benefit because care continuity depends on financially stable providers with staff that are focused on care and not admin. And this is a low-lift integration. We work with you in your EHR. Weeks 1 and 2, we'll sign a BAA, figure out workflows, and configure the first audit rules. Weeks 3 through 8, and maybe a bit beyond, we actually work through and start implementing this in practice. We iterate in real time. Then by weeks 9 to 12, we have a good idea of what's needed, and then we'll start to put together the findings and make the case of what the real savings and values are. One that we've already seen is that we're saving teams 15 to 20 hours a week just on quality audits. This is audits that provide 100% coverage. We increase your compliance score, we reduce denials, and ultimately, more patients are being served. So all we ask from you is that we need you to provide staff on the data side. We need a program officer. We need one weekly meeting to make sure that we're getting the most out of it, that we can make adjustments on the fly, figure out where the biggest impact can be had, and we'll run this through our system. which is secure. We use AI responsibly, and we have a clear exit plan to where you keep the findings. You can keep doing this if you want, but ultimately, at the end of the day, we're here to build for you and for the patients. Thank you.
Hey, Zach, I just want to ask you some relatively quick questions. Great overview on it and overview on what the pilot looks like. So one of the things we heard Advent Health was talking about was like, hey, making things as easy as possible. And so can you really quickly give us an understanding? What is the first 2 weeks if like an organization like Advent or any other regional healthcare system decide to lift this, or community health organizations decide to lift this? What does the first 2 weeks look like with you?
Yeah, the first 2 weeks are spent understanding their unique workflows and designing our tool around that. That we have different modules that we can piece together, whether it starts at intake, if it's just on quality, if it extends to the program side, that we have different modules that we can set up for the organization. There are different ways to integrate with different EHRs. So we sit down, we work through all of that and find the solution and the workflow that works best for the organization itself. So it's all tailored to the specific needs.
Awesome. And then last but not least, Zach, what brings you to this work?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I'm from Orlando. I grew up in a low-income house with two addict parents, and I lost my mom to opioids right before I started business school. And so during my time and during my MBA, I learned about the addiction space, spent a ton of time working with CBOs, found that there's a huge need and opportunity across the safety net. And it's my way to fight for people who I could have become since I've been so blessed in my life and would love to do more work in Orlando.
Awesome. Well, Zach, we appreciate your time here in the program. We appreciate the work, and we look forward to getting you connected with some local community health organizations who are willing to take a look at and pilot your solution within the real world environment. So once again, thanks, Zach, for your time. All right, coming up next is our next fellow, and we recognize one of the